Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here, and once again it is time for us to enter the world of the cruel, the world of the craven, the world of the crossed. Today we're going to be focusing in on the final issue of this volume, Cross Plus 100 Issue 6. Now if this is your first time here, or if you missed the previous video, a link to my Cross playlist should be popping up right now, and that will contain all of my previous Cross videos. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into Cross Plus 100 Issue 6. We open on horses, a great many horses decorated in human skins with crossed war paint down their snouts, an army progression flanked by a palanquin draped in human flesh, headed for battle. And in counterpoint to this, we see Archivist Future Taylor, Keller, and Cautious atop their horses racing at breakneck speed back to Chuga, but acknowledging that they will not make it in time. Their discovery of the infected settlement in the previous issue leaves nothing but questions and fear amongst them, with Archivist Taylor still trying to wrap her head around it. The attack on Chuga is a definite, but the training, the conditioning, what could it have been for? Back at Chuga, the rusted red rig that the trio formerly crewed on returns early, with George being informed and going out to meet them. As the trio ride ever closer to Chuga, Keller poses the theory that perhaps they were trying to train spies to infiltrate uninfected settlements, but it's not as if they could get rid of the cross rash across their faces. Taylor's mind just keeps bringing her back to the attack at Graceland where Ho-Ho was turned. The cross charging, Ho-Ho moving up, opening fire, and Greer grabbing her, pulling her back into formation. Something just isn't right about that moment. Inside the walls of Chuga, panic has set in as people rush through the streets in terror. The infected have arrived. They storm the settlement, raping, murdering, taking prisoners, separating the men from the women and children. Taylor, Keller, and Cautious approach Chuga, dismounting and going in the rest of the way on foot. They move up to a higher ridge to get the lay of the land, thinking that if they're too late, and Chuga has already fallen, they will head for Murfreesboro and try to convince them to give the three shelter. As they move, Taylor is clearly terrified but also consumed in thought. Keller questions what she's sculling. About the tapes? About how infected spies fuck wouldn't work because the rash, and but they hid the rash with makeup, what if? But Keller assures her that someone would have noticed. Again, the image of Greer pulling Ho-Ho back into formation by the neck pops into Taylor's head. Cautious makes it to the top of the ridge first, with a look of horror taking her face as she stammers, oh sex, no." The others join her and take in the nightmare that Chuga has become. Human bodies on pikes, cannibal Holocaust style, now decorate the open gates. Others are dismembered and reconfigured into macabre works of art fixed to the massive perimeter walls. Banners of Beauregard Salt's face fly above the settlement, and in the distance, in the center of town, a massive fire can be seen burning. Breaking down into tears, Cautious breaks from the group, rushing towards Chuga. Taylor and Keller run after her, trying to rein her in, but as they approach the open gates with human heads spiked all about, the same drive that is pulling Cautious takes hold of them as well. They need to know for sure what has become of their loved ones. Taylor's mom, Cautious's parents, and Nudie, Keller's boyfriend. They need to see if there's any hope before they make it for Murfreesboro. They move swiftly through the streets of Chuga, passing the ostrich pens now filled with women and children, past streets transformed into open-air butcher shops with bodies piled higher than they are tall, towards the center of town where the fire burns and all the people seem to have convened. And as they move, Taylor questions Cautious as the image of Ho-Ho pops into her head again. In Memphis, Ho-Ho's splashback was on her neck, true? Cautious confirms this as they round the corner and see their rusted, blood-red rig sitting in the middle of the street. Just past it, in the settlement square, the crossed are convened for their victory feast. Dozens upon dozens of them circled around the fire and the palanquin, screaming, cheering, devouring some alive. In the center of the circle, their leader, Bashful, goads them on, and next to him stands the boy from the tape Taylor had discovered in the infected settlement, now a man, Joke Mercy, or as we, the readers, and the inhabitants of Chuga had come to know him, Robbie Greer. Nearby, Taylor's mother screams and weeps, reaching out towards the fire on which George's body cooks. She's held back by Keller's lover, Nudie, who has been interned. Taking in the mayhem, Keller breaks and rushes into the midst of the enemy, pistol drawn and screaming, "Nudie, I heart you! You too, Laura!" And with that, he kills both his lover and Taylor's mother. It is a true mercy. Joke Mercy moves for him, demanding, "Where are Taylor and Cautious?" Keller screams that the guards at the camp mop them, and then he turns the gun on himself, pulling the trigger. As soon as he's dead, Taylor pulls Cautious away and they flee. As they move through the hopeless, maddening carnage of the only home that they have ever known, we are given this volume's final journal entry from Archivist Taylor. July 27th, 2108. 100 years after the surprise, no Allfuck. Halfway to Murfreesboro, resting the horses. Chuga fallen to the infected. Mom's mopped. Robbie infected all along. Didn't need makeup, trained behavior and voice, then disfigured him. He was 12, maybe. Infected will fuck come after us. And but they'll mop Peoples from Acalania. Or the world. And Peoples? All our build back since the surprise will be just to fashion the pan. And we'll be gone. It was their wishful fiction all along, maybe. Not ours. Ours ran out of track. Now there's no more wishes, no more fiction, no more Chuga, no more later. And that is where this issue and this volume leaves us off. The writing for issue 6 is pretty phenomenal. Mind you, it doesn't have a lot of the flair or deep development of characters and the world that previous issues contained, but as the conclusion to this volume, none of that really has a place here. This issue, like the latter part of the last, is much more about entrenching us in the dread our characters are consumed by, and paying off all of the meticulously placed setups throughout previous issues, and holy hell it delivers. The intercutting between our characters racing back to Chuga and the Cross taking the settlement create a palpable tension that for us, like the characters, is inescapable. The character interactions within this issue feel natural to their situation, and their need to push forward inside the conquered settlement to know for certain the fate of their loved ones, despite the horror they are certain to find, is handled in a way that does not feel out of place or contrary to the characters' established natures. This is aided by putting the reader in the position where they, like the characters, need to know. The reveal and realization that Bobby Greer is in fact Joke Mercy, the infected boy who passed the conditioning tests and became the infected spy in their midst, is likewise handled exceedingly well. Moore is well aware that it's something that a large subsection of his audience will see coming before the final reveal, but instead of trying to obfuscate this fact from us, he instead telegraphs it and uses the gap in knowledge between what we know and what the characters know as a device to help build the before-mentioned tension. All in all, the writing in this final issue of this volume does not disappoint. It brings this particular story arc to a logical and definitive close, while leaving the overall world and remaining character relationships intact so that the future creative teams have a sandbox to play in, but are not hindered or limited to rehashing the same general story once again. It is exceptionally good work, and while it is certainly not the best of Alan Moore, it still retains all the trademarks and qualities that comic book readers have come to expect from everyone's favorite grumpy grandpa wizard. The artwork in this issue continues to maintain the quality of the previous 5. The depiction of the infected army moving on Chuga in counterpoint to the dialogue shared between our main characters as they rush back to the settlement goes a long way to helping maintain the tension from the previous issue. Andrade's execution of the chaotic nature of the infected taking the settlement paints a clear picture of the events, utilizing very few panels illustrating the swiftness in which Chuga is overthrown. Despite the absence of dialogue from the settlement's inhabitants, his excellent use of body language and facial expression leaves no doubt in our minds as to the overcome individual's thoughts and feelings in any particular panel. Once again, the artwork is overall superb, working in perfect tandem with the writing to ensure that the end of this volume lands with the impact of a gut punch, leaving the readers reeling and in dire need of knowing what will happen next. Right on, children of the screen, there you have it. Cross Plus 100 Volume 1. And If you've been watching these videos, then I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because you already know how much I love this book and what I think about it. It is, after all, my favorite volume out of the Cross franchise, which is why I decided to cover it first. Now, there are 2 more volumes in this Cross Plus 100 story, plus a spin-off story called Cross Plus 100 Mimic. And I will definitely be getting to those videos. However, a lot of people have been requesting and asking for the original volume by Garth Ennis, so that is what I'm going to be hitting next. However, before that drops, I'm going to be premiering my new series where I'm going to have a cross discussion show, where I'll be bringing on different guests to talk about various volumes of the franchise. First up, we'll be bringing back my old co-host Logan for us to talk about Cross Wish You Were Here. But if you would like to see Cross Plus 100 again without my commentary, I will be compiling a longer Cross Plus 100 Volume 1 video, which will just be the story summary segments. Now, as I've said, these are just story summaries. I do give you the basic overview of the story and all of the crucial components of that story, but there are a lot of little things that I'm leaving out for the sake of brevity, and just in case some of you are watching this video without having read this volume already, it gives you something to go and discover yourself. So I definitely recommend that. As I said, it is my favorite volume out of the franchise, so I cannot recommend it highly enough. But what is your favorite volume, or your favorite story arc out of the Cross franchise? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that so you can check out all the dope Cross content I'll have coming out in the future. Thank you very much, children of the screen. Hope y'all have a good one. Nerd Scum, out!